Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Odd Blog, and I'm sad to say that it's the review of the finale of the Kenobi show, and I'm actually kind of disappointed it's come to an end. But there we go, all good things do, and realistically, that series as a whole, it actually turned out to be okay. I mean, a lot of things could have been changed and better, but that finale just sold the whole show. I mean, the last two episodes in particular were just incredible. So I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And obviously the whole of the final episode really is carried by the fight scene, the rematch between Kenobi and Darth Vader, or Anakin, if you like. So obviously, spoiler alert, we'll go into it in a bit of detail, so if you haven't seen it yet, you might want to pause here. But I mean, that fight, it happens fairly early on in the episode. It felt like you didn't have to wait long for it to finally happen. And we've had, like, particularly in the episode before, we saw like peak Vader, like seriously all of as powerful as he can be, pulling a ship down, ripping it apart with so much ease. And this, I felt, was now the time for Kenobi to kind of show how powerful he really is. And as the fight sequence sort of starts between them, I think Kenobi at that point he's still not got all of his power back, and Vader's still making it look really easy against him, like he did in sort of part 3, I think it was. And there's a point where Kenobi kind of falls down this hole, and then Vader starts throwing rocks on him and trying to like bury him into the ground, almost like he's been put into a grave or something. And obviously what Kenobi then starts to do is use the Force to kind of hold the rocks above him and stop himself from being crushed. And then you start seeing he starts getting like these flashbacks, and he starts to think of Leia and Luke, and I think it's his responsibility and his burden almost. His mission is to protect the Skywalker children. He knows that that's his job, and that's what he has to do. And it's strange because obviously a Jedi doesn't rely on their passion, but you kind of feel like what Kenobi does is he does fall back onto that emotion, but it's a passion out of love rather than hatred that brings all of his power back. And he bursts out from all of these rocks, and then he's full power mode. He's back, and he's able to then not only fight Vader but actually defeat him. And what an amazing fight it was between the two of them, seeing Kenobi actually using full range of Force powers, Force pushes, Force pulls, and throwing the rocks. So many like TikTok videos I've seen where they call him Space Jesus, just because he's throwing all of these rocks so easily, but it looks amazing on screen. And obviously they're having a really good lightsaber fight, so much better than the one that we saw in part 3. As I say, it's stepped up. It's now more of a proper fight, and Kenobi is still the master compared to Anakin, Darth Vader, and he proves it in this. And he manages to get a hit onto Vader's chest plate, and from that moment he's winning, and eventually then takes a massive gash out the side of his helmet, and you actually see Anakin underneath that helmet, which was an amazing scene, a brilliant parallel to the Clone Wars, where Ahsoka actually managed to do the same thing but on the other side of his mask, and you see his face underneath. And the way that they sort of manipulated, you have like part Anakin's voice and part Darth Vader's voice with the respirator, and you can hear it not working properly, and him kind of switching between the two voices. And it's really powerful, it's really effective, and it's just kind of epic. And obviously the dialogue between the two of them is brilliant. Kenobi finally gets to see kind of Anakin, and he actually apologizes that he had failed him, but then Darth Vader says, well, you didn't fail him because you didn't kill him, I did. And it's basically saying that Vader became all that was left, and he killed off Anakin, as it were, which is just a brilliant kind of metaphor, and it allows Kenobi to get some closure. Kenobi doesn't kill him, doesn't kill Darth Vader, he just walks away at the end of the fight. He obviously would have had an opportunity to have ended it, but because of the emotional attachment to Anakin, he can't bring himself to do it, which makes total sense. Also, it wouldn't be right for a Jedi to do that, but it is interesting that he drew on that passion to be able to actually defeat Vader, which is obviously something that the Jedi don't teach you, but it's a different type of passion. It's not passion through anger or hatred or anything like that, or revenge or any of those kind of negative things like the Sith do. It's passion through love and devotion and completing his mission and being compassionate, that brings all of his power back that he didn't have all the way through this series, right up to this last moment where he finally got it back and has this massive epic battle with Vader and defeats him, and defeats him well. So it's, you know, it's a true moment where you see Kenobi, I think, at his very, very best. And I really want now a second season, because now that he's got those powers back, I feel like he can go on and do you know, other missions or adventures, or not involving Darth Vader. I think, you know, Vader versus Obi-Wan was kind of what carried this kind of first season of the show, and if they do a second one, I don't really think they should be relying so heavily on the involvement of Vader. And now we can just have Kenobi going out and doing his own thing, and maybe getting involved in, you know, whether it's, I don't know, space pirates or smugglers. There's loads of other characters out there. It doesn't need to be Darth Vader all the time. Could even have the Grand Inquisitor again as being like a more of a main villain coming up against him. But there are definitely, I think, adventures to be had for Kenobi going forward. So I really want a second season. It really left me wanting more once this finished, which was great, because there was, you know, so much kind of pessimistic and negative feedback online as the episodes kind of kept coming out every week. And I feel like the show was suffering for the fact that it was doing the Disney strategy of a weekly release. I don't think it works for Star Wars, because so many people complained after every episode that they weren't getting what they wanted. They didn't get to see what they hoped they were going to see. And people aren't patient enough to wait for the next episode or the one after that, where you did then get to see what you wanted. You know, you got the flashback scenes, you got to see Anakin, you got to see Vader at his full potential, and Kenobi at his full potential, and a rematch between the two of them. You got all of that. You just had to wait for it to get to the end of the series. But because people have no patience, you know, all of the stuff online after every week was just negative, because people were feeling disappointed without seeing the whole series. So I feel like it suffers as a result of that by doing this weekly release strategy. If they just put the whole up so you could binge it, then no one would have anything to complain about. And I feel like because the series ends so powerfully and so well, that's all it's going to be remembered for, which would be so much of a better thing for fans, you know, without having this division of people that don't like it and what have you. I think it would just leave a much more positive aftertaste, as it were, at the end of the show. So it's just a bit of a thing. I don't think with the weekly release did it any favors, but that's obviously what, you know, Disney do with Disney Plus, and they do it for everything. I don't think it works. I think the reason why something like Stranger Things does so much better in terms of its ratings and its audience reaction is that you can see the whole thing through without constant interruption, and this whole week of people kind of making predictions and then complaining and all this kind of stuff. Just put the whole lot up, and then we can see it as a whole for what it's meant to be, and then people will be happy. So, you know, I think it suffers as a result of that. But at the end of the day, those last two episodes in particular were absolutely amazing, and they sold the whole show for me. It was absolutely brilliant. So in the end, I really, really liked it. It's definitely better than the Book of Boba Fett, which I think is the worst of the shows that have been out so far. It's kind of up there with Mandalorian, I have to say, and I know I've seen other people saying this as well. For some people, it's now the best Star Wars show that's been done, replacing Mandalorian, as it were. I think really my only complaint about the show is that there seems to be this this kind of formula that Disney use, where you always have to have a young character going alongside the main character. So in Mandalorian, it happens with Grogu. In the Bad Batch, it happens with, I can't remember her name, but you know, it's this child character kind of has to follow along with the main characters. And then they did it again in this show with Kenobi and Leia. So it's like, I don't need to see that all the time. And I wish they'd do something different from that respect. It's like this formula that they just keep repeating over and over again. Luckily, it didn't kind of overshadow the show generally. So yeah, I sort of put it up there with Mandalorian for being really good. And as I say, I really hope that they do a second season. I'd be so up for that. So fingers crossed. I mean, there is a rumor that there's going to be a second season, and obviously you get the final scene of the whole series is that the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon comes back, and it's a beautiful scene. And then him and Kenobi then go wandering off into the mountains, And that's a story that needs to be told. You know, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? What are they going to discover? Are they going to find new things in the Force? Are they going to try and find, I don't know, artifacts of ancient Jedi? It could be anything, really. Let's be honest. But it would be so cool to kind of see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon going off, and having a new adventure of their own. You know, the master and apprentice, as it were. Albeit one of them's a ghost, but that's beside the point. I feel like there's a story that can be told there. So hopefully, fingers crossed. So there we go. I really liked the series in the end. I think it worked out really well. It just needed a little bit of patience to get through some of the weaker episodes or the filler episodes. And yeah, it's not perfect. There were a few things that were quite dodgy. But as I say, I think that maybe it would have been better as a movie rather than a series to kind of have to drag the storyline out so far over 6 episodes. Whereas you could have probably cut out the middle 2 or 3 even, and just got straight up to that final part. I don't know, but overall I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I'm disappointed that it's finished, and I really want some more. So fingers crossed for season 2. Anyway, that's it. With that said, we're all done, and I'll see you guys in the next video.